Thank you very much for tuning in to The Rush this evening. My name is Randolph Critchlo. The Rush Business, as of course we know, we rebranded the program. We're doing things a little differently. On Tuesdays and Fridays we talk about economic matters that affect you. We follow the money. As usual, we ask you where you're joining us from. Let us know where you're joining us from in the comment section. Say good evening and we give you a shout. We appreciate that you join the program every evening and you share the live stream, folks. You share the live stream so that others to hear what is happening, folks. Let us know where you're joining us from in the comment section. Let us know where you're joining us from in the comment section, and we will give you a shout out all over the world. We know people join us from into the Rush Business, and we are going to be talking about something very interesting this evening, and I want persons to pay attention. Educational kind of slant. This talk about the modernization of Guyana's payment system. And what does it mean? Right? The move towards digital and the modern national payment system. We're going to be talking about what that is. We're going to be joined by Mr. Agri Marsh, who has been on the forefront of this issue. He's been a part of all things digital. We're going to be talking to him in just a bit later on in the program as we talk about this idea of modernizing in Guyana. We know, of course, the challenges we face when it comes to trying to pay using cards and in certain parts of the country and we want to know what is being done, what has been done, what is being done, and where do we need to go to ensure that we are on par with the rest of the world. So we'll be talking about issues of concern later down in the program. But first, folks, let us say good evening to all of you joining from all over. We'll do that at the other end of this. You know, we always say, folks, on this program, let's start the right way. Let's unpack. Let's follow the money. Yes, folks, we are sharing the live stream. We are sharing the live stream. Ask that you share. Where are you joining us from this evening? Good evening, Miss Clark. Thank you very much for tuning in. Antigua is in the house. Jamal Aziz, thank you very much for locked into the program. Bless, good evening. People joining us from France. Thank you very much. Tasha from France joining us. Good night to Queens. West Side in the house. Antigua is in the house. Good evening, New York. Diamond Housing Schemes, Suriname. Good evening to you in Maryland. Thank you very much for tuning in. Brooklyn, Toronto, Berbice. Good night to all of you, all the good folks. Remember, folks, we ask that you share the live stream, folks. That's what we want you to do, as we are doing right now. We are sharing in a number of places. So we want you to share. Before we get into our topic, folks, we want you to share the live stream. Give us a share. Give us a share. That's how you show that you appreciate what we show, that you appreciate the work that we're putting in to bring you the credible and valid information, folks. So we ask that you share the live stream. That is all that we are behind the scenes, and I'm going to try and share at a few places here myself so that we are on all pages and be running at all cylinders. Thank you very much for tuning in. As I said, folks, today we're going to be dealing with a number of interesting topics. Let me just ensure that we are here. We are sharing on all right. We good to go. We are good to go on those pages, folks. Good evening. Good evening. Let me give some more shout outs before we start. Good evening, Toronto. Barbados in the house. Thank you very much for tuning in, folks. We're going to be starting giving you the substance in just a minute. Just ensure that we are sharing this here. Let's ensure that we got that going, folks, because we have to ensure that everybody is locked and loaded. Everyone is loaded. Right. That we are on all the right places. Right. Hold on. 1 second, folks. 1 second as we get it right. So we'll go and we'll back after this quick break as we start it. Right, we are back, folks, and thank you very much for staying tuned, just ensuring that we get all things right. Right, let us go, folks. We know that Guyana has lifted the COVID regulations. What does that mean for you, folks? We know that the COVID regulations were lifted. What does that mean for you? Right, for you as we welcome in now. Yes, Miss Kit, we are here and we are ready to go. We are here. Right. Frederick Minty, thank you very much, sir. Yes, we'll keep up the good work. East Ranville, Pleasance in the house, Essequibo, Maryland, Antigua, New York, NY. Thank you very much, folks, for being a part of all of what we're doing, the credible, valid information. Great. Now, folks, today we are going to be looking at a few things, but first we have to bring up our menu, so to speak, for the evening. First of all, we'll be looking at what is happening internationally. Yes, Ms. Durant, they said no mask. So we're going to be talking about those COVID regulations in just a few. Welcome, Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome. There is still some confusion as it relates to those COVID regulations here in Guyana. Right? Yes, Miss McDonald. Florida is in the house. But let's go, folks. What is happening on the international scene? As Guyana rolled back, we see China locking down. Quite interestingly, folks. Headline says that China faces... Sorry, not China. China battles again. And let me just give you some information on this. China has banned most people from leaving. A coronavirus hit Northeast province and mobilized the military on Monday. This was yesterday, folks, to combat the fast-spreading stealth Omicron variant. And this, of course, which has fueled the biggest outbreak since the start of the pandemic 2 years ago. And quite interestingly, folks, this is happening as some parts of the world, including Guyana, have decided that they will roll back the COVID regulations, the guidelines, right? And economy faces supply hit as this happened. Of course, we know that the role China plays in a global economy and supplies around the world. So this is quite interesting development. I want you to take that in. I want you to understand that there's a new stealth Omicron variant that is ravaging China right now, and they have put 45 million people on lockdown as we here in Guyana open up. Hopefully, we have not done so prematurely. But we'll issue. What else is happening on the international? Oil prices, of course, affecting us here. But let us give you an idea of what happened over the last 24 hours with oil prices. Oil suffers spectacular collapse. Oil suffers spectacular collapse, falls into the bear market territory, right? Spectacular collapse, folks. And so we are watching this here. Let me give you an idea of what is happening there and what they are saying about that, right? What is happening there with the oil? Now, oil has dropped to below 90 barrel. It is, sorry, below 100, low 90s earlier today. Low 90s per barrel, of course, with the issue and the war in Ukraine, oil prices would have skyrocketed. It was close to 130. It went up to $7 per barrel, and that has plummeted to around 90, 98, and it's surfacing around the low 90s today, which is a steep decline. And what has been fueling that, folks? Of course, a lot of these prices are they jump around because of various factors. In Europe are still they're not weaning themselves off of Russian oil, so they've decided, you know what, this thing might end up going for the long run and impact on us. This has an impact on us, producers of oil. And of course, as we mentioned, high oil prices are not a bad thing for the country, but the consumer. Of course, for another article that says Guyana is about to think about measures to ease the high oil prices on the market. And that's not on the international scene. Before we move to what is happening locally, folks, we see the people in Russia. Now, gold is another issue. Of course, we are a producer of gold, and we need to keep our eyes on Russia with the gold. Now, a simple explanation for this, it might seem very alarming that the Russians are buying so much gold, right? Amidst the rules, and the central bank halts its own purchase from the banks. Now, a lot of things to explain here, folks. A lot of things to explain for those persons who are keeping up with world economy and the economic situation around the world. Of course, the sanctions on Russia have caused a collapse in their currency, the ruble, and many Russians are deciding, look, instead of keeping this money, which is not going to be worth anything, I'm going to buy gold because, of course, gold will retain its value. And so the Russian central bank has suspended purchase of gold from these banks amidst increased consumer demand. This is what is happening, folks. The people are buying up the gold in Russia. They're saying, look, if we are going to face these sanctions and our dollar, our currency is going to be devalued, then why would I hold on to the currency? It's best I buy gold and keep the gold, and of course, gold can be traded at any time because the cost of gold will continue to hold. So that is the major issue here, folks. Major issue, right? As we take a look at that, yes, folks. Sorry about that, as we had a little break in transmission. Yes, so these are the things that we're following. These are the events of the global economy there, right? The Russians have sought gold as a way to preserve their wealth as the ruble tumbles to historic. What else is happening on the world scene, folks? What else is happening on the world scene? I think we'll end there. Those are the issues that we want you to keep your eyes on the oil prices. Interesting thing happening with oil there, as we shared with you. Oil prices going down as people realize that Russia is weathering the storm of the sanctions, and many European countries are still taking their oil from Russia, so we wouldn't see a collapse, so to speak. But keep your eyes on that. Keep your eyes on the gold prices as Russia buys up a lot of gold in a bid to secure their weapon. Folks, in our Business 101 today, Business 101, today we're going to be talking, of course, about the issue of digital, of modernizing our payment system in Guyana. My own experience trying to do business in Guyana, especially if you're using cards, capital, you have a difficulty, right? I remember trying to do business with a MasterCard in Guyana here, and frankly, only one bank out of Georgetown. Trying to do business in Berbice, it was extremely difficult. You had to carry cash. So we want to move away from a paper-based payment system. How do we do that, and what is that really about? So we're going to go into our Business 101 today, where we're going to show you a video as explaining how this digital thing works. And when we come back from this video, we'll be talking to Mr. Agwe Marsh, and we'll be discussing what Guyana has done to modernize. Let's go straight into that.
Around the world, billions of consumers choose to use electronic payment stores, online, and over mobile devices. The digital network behind Visa joins billions of consumers, tens of millions of merchant locations, and nearly 15,000 financial. In this video, we are going to take a look behind the scenes of an electronic payments network to see how transactions are processed, explore how all of the different parties and various steps required for any electronic payment to occur. Let's start out by taking a look at the cast of players involved in every transaction. Consume debit or credit cards, which allow them to act lines at numerous ATMs and make purchases at millions of merchant acceptance locations around the globe. The consumer's bank that issued the cards is known as the issuer, transaction, and guarantee payment on behalf of the consumer. Merchants who choose to participate in the payments network can take advantage of the large consumer base along with the funds provided by the network. The merchant's bank is also known as the acquirer. The acquirer provides access to the network for the merchant by authorizing their transact payment quickly and securely. And there is the network, or VisaNet, that connects all of the parties involved in order to make electronic payments possible. It can be divided into 3 steps: authorization, clearing, and settlement. Let's see what happens during a typical transaction at a local grocery store. Authorization begins at checkout, when the consumer swipes, taps, or inserts a card into the store's point-of-sale terminal. Once the card is read by the point-of-sale device, a digital transaction, along with the consumer's account information, is to the acquirer. The acquirer will format the details of the transaction and then send the message to VisaNet. When Visa through a series of risk and fraud prevention tools to ensure it's valid and secure. The request is then routed to the issuer. When the message is received, the issuer will check the balance on the account available to cover the total amount of the transaction. If there is enough money in the account, the issuer will place a hold on these funds and then send the message back to VisaNet. VisaNet. The acquirer receives the details of the transaction and then sends the issuer's approval to the merchant. The merchant can now let the consumer leave with the groceries because the issuer has approved the request and guarantees payment to the merchant for the value of the goods sold. This entire authorization process usually happens in just a matter of. As far as the consumer and merchant are concerned, the transaction is now complete. The consumer has the groceries, and the merchant knows that the acquirer will pay them within the terms of their agreement. But the transaction process. The next step is called clearing. After the transaction is complete, the acquirer formats the data and transmits the final transaction VisaNet. VisaNet then sorts all transactions worldwide and transmits a consolidated batch file to each issuer that is participating in the network. Upon receipt, the authorization hold from the consumer's account and debits the final transaction amount from their account balance. Once the clearing of the transactions has commenced, the final step of the payment step is known as settlement. During the settlement process, VisaNet consolidates every electronic payment transaction worldwide and sends consolidated net settlements and acquirers. Funds are then transferred between each institution with account activity to settle all transactions that have occurred within a specific processing day. At this point, the process is complete. Payments have become faster and more secure than ever before, providing a foundation for innovation, enabling exciting new ways to pay and be paid. From e-commerce to beyond, electronic payments networks are helping to pave the way to the future.
Electronic payment system works, and that is very important. As today we're going to be talking about modernizing Guyana's payment system and where we need to be done, because of course Guyana needs to plug into the global system. We need to be able to have that infrastructure in place to attract it. But before we get to that, before we about that modernization, I want to get to some matters of concern, folks. Some matters of concern. One of this afternoon, this evening, before we get into that our big topic for the night. And what do we have on our list here of matters of concern? But this is the big one for me. This is the big one that I want to talk about, folks. COVID confusion. COVID confusion, folks. This is for those of you who've been keeping up date with what has happened over the last few days. Guyana has basically done away with its COVID regulation, but still there is confusion in the air. Confusion in the air. Yes, folks, as China locks down, Guyana, I'm not going to dwell on the opening up. I'm going to dwell on the way this PPP administration, this installed administration, continues to play with. Let me say this. A gazetted order was released. Health ordinance. At number 9 of that health ordinance, where vaccination is required or is a requirement, proof of vaccination shall be in English and certified, blah, 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 blah. And it goes on to tell you it may also be shown digitally or any other form providing that identification. That is the only section of that health ordinance, folks, that spoke to proof of vaccination. But it has been widely reported, folks, that the president said, you know what? You don't need proof of vaccination to enter public buildings. But I saying this, this is a report from the newsroom. Let me read the bottom there. It might be too fine for y'all to read. The requirements for India to present their proof of vaccination when entering public buildings have been removed. That is what it says. That is what is implied, and not only implied, but that is what was said in the report. But concerned citizen, I was wondering, where can I find this piece of information, this line in this order that to show proof of vaccination? And folks, I am telling you that there is no such line. There is no such line in the order that was released. Somebody here on the live can tell me where I can find that line in the order. I'll be grateful. I would be, if you can go through the order, right? If you can go through that public health ordinance, that those regulations that were before says explicitly persons do not have to show proof of vaccination. What they have done, folks, with this ambiguous pieces created, they would have created a situation for more confusion. That is what they would have done. Created a situation for more, because it says there to you where vaccination is a requirement. Now, what does that mean to me? That if I go into John's shop and John decided, look, I need to see proof of vaccination before you come into my shop, John can use that rule on me because the government has not made it clear. But John said, I don't care about COVID regulations, and you need proof of vaccination to come into my establishment. And this is what is going to cost. Yes, today, there are reports of persons, of course, the public is now saying, look, there are no regulations. But the business owners are looking at the ordinance and saying, look, it says where vaccination is a requirement. Vaccination requirement if I want. And that is what is leading to the confusion, folks. That is what is leading to the confusion. The question there is, blue book or no blue book? Of course, the private sector is happy. The private sector is over the moon. They wanted the private sector to be happy. They cajole them. The private sector is in bed with this administration. So anything, and the removal of these regulations, is what they wanted. But the question, why is the regulation or the order so ambiguous? Why is it not explicit? Why did not have to show proof of vaccination when entering public buildings? And folks, I am telling you, if you found that in the send it to me, because I did not see it. What does where vaccination, somebody explain to me in the comments. So maybe I'll ask Agri when he comes on, if he can tell me where. It means some places vaccination, proof of vaccination is required and some places it's not. Is that what you're saying? Say, look, we would not be held accountable if this thing hits the fan. If we get another surge, we don't need proof of vaccination. We said where it is required, meaning that we gave people the opportunity to still ask for vaccination confusion at many doors, at many public buildings. Right? But folks, again, I stand corrected. If you read the thing, that's a matter of concern, folks. That is a matter of concern for me this afternoon. And let us move right along, folks, as we are watching our time. We jumped in today, and we have lots to talk about as it relates to this particular issue. Modernization of Guyana's national payment system. Modernization of Guyana's national payment system. What is the national payment system, folks? What is the national payment background? Let me give you a bit of background and a bit of information as we try to explain to you what national payment system. I want to give you a bit of a background there to it. I'm hoping that I get this information up for you. Good. We have a bit of problem. But let's bring in, since we are waiting on that to come up, I'll invite my guests to come in now. I want to welcome Mr. Agri Marsh to the program. Agri, good evening to you, sir.
Good evening to you. It's good to be on the rush.
Being a part of the program this evening. Now,
Yes.
I was about to explain with a bit of information there to our viewers what is meant by the national system, right?
Right.
I'll allow you to give them a bit of idea and sort of let them know how you're involved with this particular.
So it's good being here, Randy. So I've been involved in e-commerce, approaching 10 years now, with a venture. Some years back, we got about $1 million US investment, going across different banks,
Yes.
and CARICOM in particular. And locally at home, I was involved in the last national e-commerce study conducted by the ministry, as part of the government preparing to negotiate in Geneva for joint service initiative. So persons can quickly Google that and get the entire report. It was done by international consultant who shared that report, and where persons can get it with your viewers. But a national payment system essentially is governed, and it allows for all, because it's the ultimate custodian of payments in the country.
Yes.
So payments between Republic Bank, citizens, GBTI, etc. The central bank is that. So a national payment system is two main forms. The central bank has done a lot of work, sponsored by the World Bank the last couple of years, where they have the real-time growth that allows, which is partly implemented. If you speak with somebody from central bank, you probably get some update. And then the Intel, what we know now as ACH. So if I want to transfer money from my Guyanese bank account to your Guyanese bank account, to clearinghouse, persons who listen to us in the US will know what that is. That is already implemented, and persons from different banks can transfer money to other thing. Is that for Randy Shop in South to receive money for payment from who says that, okay, Randy's selling this very good piece of item, and I want to pay for it with my debit card, as the video showed. So apart from Visa, there's so I've done some work in the region with MasterCard, doing the same kind of stuff. That's my competitor, just to be clear. So that is the national payment system is covering the interbank transaction. Just to use a big word, basically locally, connecting the local payment system, let's say via government, to pay checks, pensions, globally to the international payment system, as we saw recently where Russia was cut off with something
from
called
that SWIFT. That SWIFT, yes.
Right.
Good. Let me just jump in here. I want to give our viewers a bit of information as it relates to what this payment system is, right? And you can jump in back here as we talk about. Just give people an certain issues that they want to deal with, right? It says here from the Bank of Guyana website, right? They want to build a robust, efficient, and inclusive national payment system that meets the current and future needs of the economy to support financial activities, financial sector development. Electronic payment, this is where we're going to be talking about tonight, the use of electronic payment to contribute to financial risk mitigation with international systems and to adhere to relevant international standards, guidelines, and codes. So now we're talking about ensuring of this system that everybody is using, and this idea of electronic payments are moving away from a paper-based or economy. And so where are we with that? I know we had a study. Tell us about that.
Yeah. So that study essentially identifies some, and I don't want to belabor the point, but I'll pick out a few and just touch on them. So cross-border transfer of information, right? Guyana, and the study says exactly this, and I quote, Guyana does not have in place that covers the transfer of data, let alone cross-border transfer of data. To bring its regulation framework and with draft JSI, which is in Geneva, provisions in this area, Guyana could consider adopting legislation that liberalizes cross-border data flows while corrections necessary to achieve legitimate public policy objectives. So that's one priority issue that the study identified. Location of computing facilities. Well, I could go on and on with this, where this is concerned. A good step that has been made is now some work started in last administration and completed by this one.
Yeah.
So essentially of outward bound cables. That's basically what we push at. And guess what, Randy? Guess what's important for computing facility? Power.
But that's an interesting one.
I'm gonna leave that to you for you to deal with.
Reliable power, of course. We need that.
Right. Yeah. We get to that. Going down the road. So we have online consumer protection. Now we know there have been a lot of issues with joint Ponzi schemes, get scammed out of money from different parts of the world, even local people working as agents for these. So that's another thing that the study asked that we work on, right? And then the study also asked us for personal information protection and that we should put laws in place. And fun fact, I was actually involved in a trading by the European Union in Barbados. I represented Guyana on talking about GDPR, which is Global Data Protection Regime. And the context of your program speaks to the road to going digital. And this is one because Guyanese data need to stay in Guyana, especially, well, I don't want to get sidetracked anyway, but that's another key area that we need to work on. As we keep going down, we also need to look protection customer, but some of the banks in the country become compliant with international standards. Because based on what you read, Randy, the central bank is essentially saying, listen, we want to pay standards. Of course, when they did the study some years ago, 15 or 16, with the World Bank, sponsored by the World Bank, essentially, the World Bank would have said to them, some of your banks are not comply. I try to stay away from it when I must do, because I have some professional friends in Trinidad and Jamaica who are looking at this live stream. Anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism, AML-CFT, is a major issue that still is something that now I know if you look at on the last Attorney General, there's a considerable work done. We are moving
Yeah,
from
that
blacklist
is
to gray list.
Senior Counsel Basil Williams, who was Attorney General. I know the FATF and CFATF
Right.
initiatives, and Guyana
Right.
was actually forefront in ensuring that we're compliant, and that
Yes.
without getting into that.
Yeah. No. But we need to get into that because this is part of what is national. This part of entering it. Now, let me show you why that's important.
Yeah.
I have a Guyanese card, and there was a period of time when I tried to buy stuff with my Guyanese card, and simply that I was from, the website refused to accept any cards from Guyana. Right
Wow.
now, we are at a different stage where today card on almost any website around the world. So that's a step forward. But in going forward, we have to make sure that we are going to do annual and biannual reviews of suspicious transaction across the world.
Yeah.
So coming back to the things that we need is a way to connect all the banks. So for example, something like PayPal, Stripe,
Yes.
or Randy Critchlo to set up an online store selling anything he wants and receive money in his bank account. There's some on its way from Trinidad, from Jamaica, from Barbados. One of them I know personally is out of Barbados. So what is apart, and I see recently, and to be fair, there was a study. It's let me get it right. It's the 2022 strategy for e-commerce,
Yes.
which essentially
E-commerce.
which essentially quoted some of the stuff that was done before. So I they had some dates there to delivering. I heard they're working on electronic signature bill. The most recent legislation was out for consulting in 2019. I think still out recently by the last administration. That project has been continued and moved on the Ministry of Business.
Yes.
Of recently open for consultations to give their views on this particular bill. So with public clamoring from persons like yourself who have business, who are into and would like to be able to receive payment from across the world, right? From persons' credit and debit cards into your bank account. I think this legislation, along with efforts on the way by the Central Bank of Guyana and the team, will help us move to this point.
Let's just make it clear and known to our viewers that this legislation came into 2018 under the APNUAFC. This is the National Payment System Act that came into force. Agri would have mentioned that push for those anti-money laundering regulations to come into force and ensure all the banks are compliant, to ensure that we are in line with FATF and CFATF, got us off of those blacklists, and we are moving in the right direction. And what has happened, I know
the bill is out for consultation. It's not been passed or read as yet. Okay. It's just out for consultation. So what needs to happen now? It needs to be and then once it's tabled in Parliament,
let's go to the actual infrastructure now, Agri, because this is a sore point. The project or the project to enhance the national payment system got a grant of $6 million US, and yes, $6 million US. I'm reporting here from the Bank of Guyana website, right? $6 million US, and I want to share with you our viewers, you and our viewers, information that I would have gotten from You know, we're doing our investigation here, you know. We're doing our investigation. And I want to share serious research. Budget Estimates, Volume 3 of 2022, sorry. Right. I doubt that we can see it. Go through what it says here. And this speaks to this particular thing here. It speaks to, one second. It doesn't want to move. It's not moving. Sorry. Right. The national payment system. Right. The national payment system. And it gives you an idea. And this is, of course, a description of the project to establish a national payment system infrastructure, including software and hardware and real-time gross settlements of central securities, the system of the Bank of Guyana, the Guyana Revenue Authority, the Guyana Insurance Scheme, and the Accountant General Department. And I'm sorry that I'm not getting to scroll because I want to go down. When you go down, it says there.
Try using your arrow keys.
Let me see. No, apparently it's stuck. Apparently it is stuck. Right? So I'm going to stop sharing that. But what if we get it back? I'll say to you that the project is now $500 million, almost half of the initial cost. And the question that I want to ask, I mean, I know you probably don't have the answer. I don't need to ask Ministry of Presidency responsible for finance. We need to ask, why was this project slashed? And on Friday's program, we'll dig a little deeper into this establishment of that infrastructure. Agree. What has been done? How far are we? Can I go into one of the commercial banks where take my card from GBTI, jump on a plane and go to France and use it? Are we there yet?
Right. So I could say for at least the bank name, I can travel with a local bank card, but that's provided by the company of whom you shared earlier, Visa. So that's a private company. National payment. If you look at the institutions mentioned there, GRA, and the pension department, and even the general department that does payments for the government. The goal for a national payment system is that Granny don't have to go and stand up at a line. Granny to get up and Granny gets a text that the money has been deposited in her bank account.
Yes.
Yeah. So a real robust national payment system deals with domestic things, as we're just talking about. Yeah. And the real key for entrepreneurs looking at it, people want that if I am selling, for example, good craft or good shirts, right? Yeah. And I buy these things, they must be able to pay me in my online store, whether I use Shopify or anyone. I receive money in my bank account. Now I know I can speak clearly in this because I've spoken to them at length. Scotiabank in particular has this thing where then once you are a merchant with them, part of the merchant services, you can go up. Really and truly, part of what this study had spoken to, and I want to come back from a very professional standpoint, is that for all Guyana, and I sent you some snaps, 100% of the government payments are online. Most Guyanese use about 1 to 2%. Right. Yeah. Also, this graph speaks for anything here. Cash for periodic paying of bills is 95%, which is
95% of that payment is done cash.
Yeah. And so look transfers is 2.4% electronic. Let me go up to frequently purchase of service, 1% use cards, which means if you really want to get, as your theme for your program says, going journey
Digital.
to, you have to do a few things. Connectivity is key, right? The liberalization of the ICT sector was a major step. The next step is to remove taxes on networking and anything to do with telecommunications, remove it for a 5 to 10 year period. So and this is me giving a clear idea that somebody could take and run and put as their own. This is Guyana.
Yeah.
I know who we do those things here, right?
Let me just before you. I want you to continue on that say to do, but I want to highlight an alarming thing here that I'm seeing: payments to government, 100%. So it is. If I am an investor and I come in this country and I want to set up a business and I have to pay something to the government, whether it be GRA, NIS payment for workers, 100% of that is done in cash. So the government has no sort of infrastructure they can receive electronic payment. That is unbelievable. Yes. That is unbelievable. How does that translate to ease of business as we are looking at becoming a developed country? How does that translate? And you know, so that's alarming for me.
Right. Yeah, so if you know this is from the World Bank survey, who had originally given the government the $6 million to get this thing going.
Yes.
Right. And the issue is, one is what foreign people have to do. But I am foreign in the oil and gas sector. They'll have their people who will do that. But what is concerning for me is really Guyanese businesses who need to do big business. And because everything, most of the stuff is cash, it means at 5 o'clock or 3 o'clock, most businesses have to close up.
Yes.
2 o'clock in the morning, sit down home, pay all my taxes or all my stuff to GRA, register business online. All of these things are being worked on and they started to so I've seen in the 2022 strategy that the current government is working on carrying this forward. It's important for us to know the effect that cash has on our society is where a lady was recently robbed. I think you carried this, Randy, in Berbice, 30-something million of a bank. Now, most people who are not Guyanese will want to know, well, and my colleagues from university are looking at the life, they'll want somebody would rob of 30-something million. And when you show them that graph and they understand the level of cash barely used,
gonna walk about with.
Yeah, they walk about with. You could, and I have seen businessmen with a big water cash in their pocket. That's a security risk.
Yes.
You understand? And persons who I do business with or we do stuff, I was like, listen to me. All the banks in the country has one thing working for sure. Any bank in this country, it doesn't matter, have online banking. So today, if you have a bank account in Guyana and you want to transfer money to somebody else, if you don't have it, if you have it at your local bank, you can call your bank in the morning and say, listen to me, or send your bank an email. How do I sign up for online banking? There's no bank in the country that don't have online banking. There is one bank I have a question about, but the system is kind of archaic, but it still allows you to transfer money from your account to another account locally. So that's where we are. Where we need to go is real-time gross settlement, and as you now get it. And for me as an entrepreneur and someone working with business people, I really would like them to reconsider something like this, because we are talking and we pass a bill, right? One of the major things for local content is that you have to make sure the Guyanese companies are competitive. All right, nice. with the foreigners, because the foreign companies have the ability to transfer money electronically.
Yeah.
You understand? And if you want to really push local content, if you're Exxon, you would want to choose somebody who could process your payment quickly and have the ability to receive payment internationally
Exactly.
very
Business.
quickly.
That's what we're talking about here. Ease of business. How do we operate in the landscape when it is not fully developed? I have my own experience of using a MasterCard. I worked with an international organization that gave me a Citibank MasterCard, and only only one bank, I think that's Ocean Bank. The type of work, the community work that we're doing, we had to go, these regions. There's no way, when you move away from Georgetown, you can't find any way to use the card. You can't go to a store and say, you want to use this card. And it is something that we need to deal with. And I'm hoping, as I shared here, we can see here that this was $547 million instead of the $1.2 billion. And when and where this was slashed is a question I'll try and answer by Friday, because I'll have to do some calls and my contacts to tell me what has happened to this $6 million US that was allocated and what we got from the World Bank to ensure that we modernize this
Randy, this is news to me. Randy, I didn't even know this until just now. Honest with you. I mean, all I talking and think, I didn't even know about this, Randy. Right. This is important. This is something Starbucks News, Kite Shore, and all these people should be jumping on, like saying, we're talking local content.
Yeah.
We're talking building business. We're talking competing regionally and internationally. Businesses need to get paid. We're talking pushing entrepreneurship. The minister should at least come out and say, well, listen, entrepreneurs, we're working to help you. This was cut from the budget because of X, Y, and Z, but we're going to bring it back at this particular time.
But let me just say this at this point in time, when it was cut, because I know that it was a $6 million load. I'm looking here from the 2022 budget estimates, and it's saying it is $547 million instead of the $1.2 billion it should have been. When that reduction was made, what I will do on Friday also is that I'll share the milestones, the markers that were put in place by the World Bank to see, okay, by 2021 this is what we should have. But we'll have a deeper investigation into this, because as it is, you're saying now that there is a 2022 strategy.
Right.
This 2018 money and the 2018 framework that was put in place, where is that coming, and how does it relate to the 2022 strategy? And we need to have some answers. So hopefully between now and Friday, we can share with our viewers what has happened to that. What has happened?
Make a point to that. I know I've spoken to one of the key people who is in this 2020. And one of the things, Randy, I mean, a national development for just a minute. Listen, if the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, Ministry of Telecommunication, Minister to use that we made X amount of progress, there should be no shame in the game to say, okay.
Yeah, the good work. Let's continue it. Let's build on it.
Yeah, well, bring it through, bring the bill. And I sure Minister Hughes won't say, well, the bill not good enough, because she was the one to help start it and have a non-partisan approach to something as critical to our development as payments. Because month of cash. And that graph that you showed earlier shows that we are primarily a cash-based society. And there's a study from a European Union. We need to move away from cash, and these are the key areas and the key steps we need to take. So there's already a national study done. The document is out. They can go to the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. They can even speak to people in Europe, because they might say, oh, these APA people, you want to talk to them. Be that as may. But they are independent intellectual that is worth its money that was paid for it by the government via whichever ministry that can help propel us to be in a much more competitive country. Because remember, Guyana, we just competing against ourselves, you know. We are competing globally. And because you're competing, you have to take these steps that are required.
Right, so we had a caller there, just had to cut that off. But we out of time, and we thank you for that. I believe very, very important information was shared here this evening. I will invite you back on Friday. You know, we'll have some conversation. I'll invite you back on Friday because we need to dig a little deeper as to where this is a piece of infrastructure, digital infrastructure that needs to be in place. So that we can facilitate the sort of development that we want. Invest, they can't use the card, they gotta walk around with $2 billion to pay the government in cash. What are we doing? What are we doing? Laundering easier when the thing where you don't get a lot of these electronic paper trails, so to speak. But we'll talk about that and more. We'll make some way now for ring. Thank you very much, Agri Marsh, for being a part of
the in the ring with his bell.
Yes, with his bell, for being a part of the program today.
No problem. See you.
Great. Folks, that was our program for this evening. I know the information shared here. You'll be back on Friday. We will not rest on this issue. We will not rest on this issue because I need some questions answered about close to $600 million and why and where. That's what I need. The rest of your evening, as I always say, let's continue to work together as the time has moved up now to 6:07. I know we over program time. We're gonna, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your week. See you again on Friday at 7 as we talk more about what the matters that affect your pocket. My name is Randolph Critchlo. Let's work together to continue the development. Do enjoy.